Harpswell Select Board meeting of Thursday, October 2nd, 2025. We'll start with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty. And for those who at home watching it on Zoom or on Facebook, you can go to the town agenda for tonight and get all the prompts that you need. All right, adoption of the agenda.
I think I'm good.
I'm going to add something to other business at the end. There's been a request for Mitchellfield overflow parking,
Okay.
so we'll do that at the end.
Okay.
All right. Anything else? You guys good? All right. See what happens here. Public comment? Not yet. Select board announcements.
Go Red Sox.
Good one.
I have one thing. Recently, I've noticed that Yes on One signs have had swastikas painted on them or marked on them with something. We really have to grow up. There's two things. One, it's illegal to mess with campaign signs, no matter what they say or how you feel about that campaign or that issue. It's none of your business. Leave it alone. But also, we have a number of people in Harpswell of the Jewish faith, and those swastikas are really triggering for them. So, word to the wise, just grow up and leave things alone.
All right. Town administrators report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. I wanted to start with an issue that came to our attention, was it last week, I think? There was a game camera that had been placed on town property at the Cliff Trail, and we were not aware that that had happened before, and we don't have a policy currently on whether or not the town allows game cameras or even temporary tree stands in some of these locations where hunting is allowed. And there's really just a couple locations in Harpswell on our town-owned properties where hunting is allowed, which would be the Cliff Trail and Devil's Back. No hunting at Mitchell Field, that's part of the rules.
Thank you.
There's no hunting at these town landings, the proximity to other buildings, it just doesn't allow for that. There's been no hunting at Giant Stairs, obviously. So those are the locations that we're talking about, and our recreation director was doing some, work on the trails and a little bit of bushwhacking too, I think, and came across this. So we're really asking for guidance about how the board would like us to proceed when we encounter these situations. We haven't had a chance to run this issue by the Town Lands Committee, so we haven't had any input from that group yet. Hunting season, the November timeframe period's coming up. I think some have started now.
It's expanded archery now.
Okay,
It
yeah.
has been since
So
September 6th.
we really are looking for guidance and input from the board on this issue. And I will say, I had a memo in the packet. I didn't realize that the Land Trust also allows game cameras. They have to be identified and they have to be reported to the Land Trust. They have to seek permission for both tree stands and game cameras. So they do allow it on their properties. And I don't know if, Katie, you would like to add to the conversation? Is there anything I've missed?
The spotlight suddenly swings to you.
Okay.
Go to the podium so we can all hear you.
Nothing to add. No, Katie Neal, Recreation Director. Yeah, just wanting to have a clear policy so that we're creating a process that everyone can access and that there's clear expectations and guidelines that I can follow. Not looking to prevent hunting on any of the properties. I worked at the Land Trust for 6 years, and we didn't have issues with there being a lot of tree stands or blinds or traps or anything like that. Just helpful to know who it belongs to so that I'm not walking off a trail with someone's game cam.
All right.
State
So,
law requires that if you're gonna place a game camera or a tree stand, that it's labeled with your name, phone number, and you don't have to have your address, but it certainly helps. But at least your name and phone number, and I think if we at least required that, and if you find one and it's not labeled with that, you can call a warden, and the warden will confiscate it.
Yeah.
So that would be my suggestion, is just to follow state law, and if we wanted, I think we could kick it to the town lands committee, and maybe if they wanted to institute a policy, have them work something over. That's my thoughts.
Yep, we can mimic the land trust,
Yeah.
what they do.
so the MMA compared tree stands to picnic tables. Possibility that the town might want to provide tree stands, but I'm wondering about liability of it's a little bit different, a tree stand
No,
than
I
a
don't
picnic
think we're
table.
providing any tree stands.
No,
by
but
any-
there was a suggestion in here that that was a possibility. So we were putting out, because of the dogs off the leashes out here on the Cliff Trail, we were putting out cameras. Remember?
Yes, we
And
actually
so
had a sign.
That's
that
what I was
said
going to
that,
ask. There's a sign warning people because of this privacy issue, that you might be on camera. So that would, yeah, so I'd like to throw that in. There needs to be a
Okay.
sign if there's going to be cameras out there.
Yeah.
So at this time, are you open to allowing them with signage and ensuring that they, report to the town where they want to put it and that we have their name and that kind
Think
of
so. I think
information?
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's
Yeah.
an issue.
At least for
And,
now.
and then ask the town lands committee to
Yeah,
develop
they
a
can
more
come up with
formal
a more
policy?
formal policy,
Okay.
but I think that's a good place
And
to
are we
start
staying
it.
away from the tree stand issue at the moment and just,
I think we can treat that just like the game cameras.
Okay.
If they want to label it and
Okay.
they want to let somebody, maybe Katie, you already have a ton, I'm sorry to put this on you, but at least somebody within town, like a location of where it is, maybe, that could be helpful. So that way, because sometimes if people just happen to label it with a piece of paper, with like a zip tie and it rain, we actually get some rain, and that washes off, and you happen to walk upon it and you go, this is Joe Smith, because he told me it was here. And then she could reach out and say, hey, your name's falling off this or something like that. I think that gets it on both ends. We know it's there, and then there's a name on it when we get out there and see it in the place.
That's what I have on my property. I let somebody, every year they put a stand,
Yeah.
they tag it, their name's on it.
Yep.
Yeah, I would echo that. I think, sending it to the Lands Committee is a great suggestion. To be clear, this game cam was not on the trail. You're not allowed to hunt right off of the trail. I was in the woods, wandering in the woods, and definitely recommend that folks are wearing orange while they're out there, and further agree not treating tree stands like picnic tables, because not wanting to own tree stands and be responsible.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
great, so that's helpful. I just wanted to mention that the town's comp plan, which is being voted on November 4th, has been submitted to the state of Maine, and there is a public comment period. It's on our website, the notice about the public comment period. It's also on the state's website. They're accepting public comment on the draft plan. We have put it before the voters, so we're hoping that the state finds that it meets all of the requirements of the Growth Management Act, and that they also accept the waiver that we requested for not designating growth zones because of the fact that we have we have private water, no public water. We have private water systems and private septic systems, and that we really can't handle dense kinds of development. So we'll see what happens there, but I just wanted to bring that to people's attention. And then the other item, too, is to note that you can vote absentee for the November 4th election. Those are referendum articles. We are required to have a public hearing because there will not be a town meeting where we all get together and discuss these articles. But we will have a public hearing. It will be at the Harpswell Community School on Tuesday, October 14th, and that's where you get to comment and, discuss the issues that are on the ballot. I will say the comp plan cannot be changed at this point. So it's an up or down vote. And it exists. We have copies of it online. We have copies of it here and at the libraries if people want to read it. But there's no opportunity to amend the comp plan at this point. So, thank you.
All right, that's it. Consent agenda.
I will move the consent agenda, which is the approval of the minutes, committee appointments, election workers' appointments, and authorization of the warrants as usual.
I will second.
I don't see any discussion. All in favor? All right. We have a wharf in front of us.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Tim Forrester with Flycatcher here on behalf of the applicants for 165 Tondros Point Road. So this is, they have an existing dock. They want to replace it. The elevation of it was slightly low, and it was only 4 feet wide. So recreational docks can be a maximum width of 6 feet wide. So they wanted to bump it out to that and then raise the elevation. The rest of it is essentially identical to what was there before. So it's a pretty simple
Straightforward.
process. It won't even stick out any further than what was previously existed, so.
Nobody seemed to have a problem with it. David, good? Well, make it easy then. I move to approve the application as the harbor master indicates. There's no hazard to navigation, no injury to rights of others in relation to fishing, fouling, or navigating.
And I second it.
No discussion. All in favor?
Thank you very much.
That was easy.
Go Bruins.
I'll take that too.
All right, recommendations regarding,
So I want to introduce Jeff Sparrow. He is participating tonight remotely, and he was a consultant that the town has been working with to look at our current solar subscription, and we receive solar credits. In the past, we had some issues with losing some of the credits because we weren't able to redistribute them. So we brought Jeff Sparrow on board because the Energy and Technology Committee recommended that the town bring someone in with expertise to look at all of our utility bills, to make recommendations about how we should move forward to potentially save money. And so I would invite Jeff to maybe give a little summary of how he approached the project and how he arrived at his recommendations.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Jeff Sparrow with Sparrow Energy Group. Yeah, so it's been, I think we've probably been working on this for over a couple months with the town of Harpswell. So what I did was started by reviewing and auditing all of the central main power accounts that are in the town's name, and going through those accounts, identifying which ones were being allocated solar credits, if the balance of those solar credits was appropriate, and also looking at all of the other accounts as well, not currently receiving credits, to see if there was a way to optimize the usage there. And it was an enlightening process, and we were able to uncover a bunch of opportunities to drive additional savings for the town. There is a full slide deck contained in the agenda, but I can talk through all of that here. So what we can do is the credits currently being received from Nautilus are monetary tariff type credits. Those credits can go on any type of account. So one proposal is to take all of the credits that are currently being spread across 6 different accounts and apply them all to the one large MGS account that feeds the town office. And that frees up space on the other accounts to do some additional allocations to drive additional savings. We're able to put all those credits on that account in part because of the conversion to heat pumps at the town hall, which did reduce fossil fuel usage significantly, but also created more demand on the electricity side. So that's the proposal, and I have a relationship with Nautilus and can work with them to reallocate all those credits on the town's behalf. So aside from the one medium general service account, the town also has a streetlight account and then 11 small commercial accounts, also known as small general service. And there are additional opportunities with those. Of those 11 accounts, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. There are 5 of those accounts that historically have not had any usage on them. CMP's bills go back about 3 years. There's never been any kilowatt hours drawn on those accounts. So I propose to the town that you evaluate if you actually need those meters in place. And if you don't, go ahead and cancel those accounts. And if all 5 are closed, that'll save the town close to $2,900 per year. And those are just the minimum service charges required by the utility. There are, I believe, 4 accounts that do have sufficient usage, and by kind of freeing those up from the other solar credits, we can subscribe those to a different type of solar subscription program, which provides kilowatt hour credits. That would be through Nexamp. And Nexamp provides for commercial customers a 20% discount on those credits. Super common, and that'll derive $1,800 in savings per year on those specific accounts. And then the final piece is we can do competitive supply. So the town's medium general service account and the lighting accounts currently receive the standard offer supply rate, which is procured once per year through the main PUC. We have the opportunity to enroll those accounts in a competitive supply contract, which is super common for municipalities and commercial energy users. Probably 60–70% of those across the state go through this process. And we could do a contract for up to 48 months, which effectively locks in the cost of electricity supply on those accounts for that entire 48 months and provides a great hedge against future increases in electricity supply rates. So that is the summary on all the things we went through. Happy to answer any questions you all have.
My question is, maybe more to Christie, is these unused meters, do you know what they are?
So,
I'm
several
thinking-
of them are at Mitchell Field. Oh, thank you.
So if you could check.
Several of them are at Mitchell Field, so we really have to take a look at that. I mean, one of them is coming off. It's been at the administration building, but the Century building has a power supply. The generator building has a power supply. There's a power supply at the waterfront, a general power supply. And what, is there another one?
The admin building, which
The
is coming
admin
off.
building. So,
Well,
you
the
know-
one at Harpswell Island Road, it looks like maybe Trufant Somerton Field.
that one we believe, or I'm pretty sure, I've got to check the account number, but there's a street light that the town, or a parking lot light, I should say, in that lower parking lot near Harpswell Community School.
Oh, yes.
And there was an agreement between the town and I don't know if it was with Austin Carey and the school, but the town had permission to have a light in there in case it had excess parking that it needed at night, and we could have a light. There's a whole conversation going on now about
Yeah.
that property being sold, and so I think we would like to get out from under that
Yeah.
parking lot light at some point,
Bears
but,
looking into.
yeah.
Okay. Well, Energy Technology Committee is one of my committees, and I had to run to a different meeting, so I sat through half of Jeff's presentation the other night, and I 100% agree with everything he's saying.
It's kind of a complicated scheme out there, and it's been really hard for us to kind of, stay on top of this issue. And Jeff said that he's worked on this in other communities, and also that any of the credits that we weren't able to convert and receive savings on actually went into, I think you said, an affordable housing fund?
That's
So-
right. Yes, so the main, they made up that rule because kind of mismanagement of credit allocations is not uncommon, and that's why these bill audits I think have been really beneficial for my clients to identify those issues. But yes, they go into low-income housing and credit accounts in those programs across the state. And then likely starting January 1st, there's a new state law that will require solar companies to reimburse subscribers for any credits they paid for that were expired. So it puts more of an onus on the subscription managers to make sure they're not, messing up allocations and having expired credits take place.
So I think did you want to add anything?
I just wanted to add that we appreciate Jeff's help on this because we worked for a very long time trying to get Nautilus, our current solar credits, to reallocate to our larger. Nautilus would say contact CMP, and CMP would say contact Nautilus. And then we reached out to our specific reps at both and was still told the same answer. So thank you, Jeff, for that, because that was very frustrating.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to do that. And, just to be clear, that hasn't occurred yet. I think what we're looking for this evening is approval to move forward on these measures.
And I would just say subject to legal review, because they are being reviewed by our legal folks.
Well, so move, subject to legal review.
And I assume your committee was fine with it.
Yes.
I will second it.
Any discussion out there? I don't see any. All in favor? Oh,
Wait,
nope.
Don Miskiel, Mitch Fields Stewart. We need to be careful. There are lights in the Century Building that were installed since we've had it, and they operate. So that one does draw power, not all the time, but there are there. And I know Ron Ponziani's got stuff in the back. That's why they need the lights. The generator building had power to a circuit breaker panel. That power has been shut off because we haven't been able to go in there.
But you're going to want it.
What's that?
You will want it.
Correct.
Yeah.
The admin building will remove that power piece when the building comes down. But that power panel we use for special events that's there.
would it be possible to get all of those into 1 meter type of thing, so we don't have, what is it, 4 or 5 now?
Oh, down in Mitchell Field?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how
I
that
think
works.
that's a Jeff question. Is
Yeah.
that a Jeff question?
Yeah, I could certainly take a look and work with town staff on that. It is nice when you combine meters. So just to understand the monetary piece, a meter with no usage, depending on the service, has a connection fee effectively of $45 to $53 per month. So that's where those costs come from. But yeah, absolutely. And I did provide the town with a list of, and again, it's in the slide deck that's, I think, linked in the agenda on page 4, has a list of all the town accounts, the account numbers, and specifically the meter numbers. So that's how we can go out and actually identify exactly what meter is in question and whether or not it's appropriate to disconnect that service or not.
And I assume the higher charge on the non-used meters means that those meters are receiving more power than the ones with a lesser charge, would be the assumption, correct?
It's actually a difference. If you're looking at the table,
There's like
some
8
are
bucks.
connected to 3-phase power and some are connected to single-phase
Okay,
power.
yeah.
And
Yep.
there's a little bit different connection fee. in
Yep, that
case.
makes sense. Thank you.
We good? Yep.
I think we have to vote still.
Right.
No
All right.
discussion then?
No.
Don, bolt fast one.
Yep.
All in favor?
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome. Have a nice evening, everybody.
Good night.
See ya. All right, next steps for Quack Cove State Property.
I think the first thing we need to do is discover to what extent I'm allowed to participate in the meeting. to be fair to everyone in the room, I had a long discussion yesterday with an MMA attorney. It appears that I am not statutorily required to recuse. However, in the view that I am obviously biased in my previous comments and whatever, that is a reason to recuse. But I would like to maintain my seat on the board as an elected and sworn official, and I would minimize my comments to questions to the speakers. But to compromise, I'll leave it voting up to you guys whether I should vote or not. I mean, I've told you time and time again, I do not live in this neighborhood. I own property, 3 properties to the north, and I'm part of a family trust on the south side. And I grew up in this neighborhood, and was my great-great-grandfather's farm. So I'm very, very familiar with it. But
I would say if you get any comments beyond, then you go up there. Other than that, you can stay put.
Sure. All right.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. As long as
And when it
yeah,
comes to voting, we'll
yeah, you're
cross
not
that bridge when we
voting,
come.
correct.
But can I just ask a question? So the family trust property, which you have some ownership in, directly abuts the state property.
On the
I
south
just
side.
want to be clear.
Yeah, on the south
So
side.
it directly abuts, because you also own a house, you said, in the greater neighborhood.
3 properties to the
Right,
north. Yes.
but you are a part owner of a property that directly abuts the Clark Cove property? Okay.
But I do not live there. I do not live in the neighborhood. So it's not a NIMBY thing for me.
All right. So however you want to start this.
Well, I mean, I can go through a summary. I know we have some folks from the state here tonight. We have a lot of people from the neighborhood. We have people from the Town Lands Committee. But, this is back in front of you. I think it was about a month ago. There was an item added to the agenda, and I did not feel as though the newest member of the board at that time had been briefed by the staff, had been provided with any background information. So I'm pleased that you decided to hold off on taking any action, because I don't think that the board was, fully briefed on all of the background. So I think we've had an opportunity to put information together to make sure it was accessible to all the members of the board, to all the members of the public. It's posted with the agenda. We've been working with the state. We post information that we receive from the state all along. We have tried to keep an open relationship with the neighborhood and said, this is the information we have. And at some point, we had talked about having a neighborhood meeting. And I grant you that we have not held that meeting yet. So I just want to say, in terms of background, the Town Lands Committee started discussing this issue with the state, I believe, in the 2023 timeframe. It eventually came to the Select Board with a recommendation that staff move some of these issues forward. The Town Lands Committee developed a plan, an initial plan for how the property might be used. We sent that to the state, again, with the Select Board's approval and with the opportunity for people to comment on it. And not everyone was, supportive. And the plan was modified to take into account some of the concerns that were raised about wildlife and keeping the trail away from, the open meadow and that type of thing. So I think we've made adjustments along the way, and we continue to have ideas about further adjustments. And I want to say, to the credit of our new recreation director, Katie Neal, we're looking at even a shorter path. The current proposal has kind of 2 access points to Clark Cove, so we're open to a shorter path. It would cost less to build, less to maintain. We know there are concerns with people in the neighborhood about this entire project, so, here we are tonight. We have, again, state people here to answer questions. It's property that is in the public domain. It's owned by the state of Maine. We are presented with a situation where the town could take on a management role of the site, including costs related to monitoring, trail building, maintenance, those kinds of things. So we don't want to say that there's no cost involved. There clearly would be. But again, that we're taking our guidance from the select board about where you want to go with this issue, and if you want the staff to proceed sort of in the direction we've been going with, or is there something, has something changed? So that's the background I have to provide.
Well, I think what I'm doing before the evening's over, everybody wants to, everyone wants to talk, we'll hear everybody out, but I'm gonna do a motion that we move this thing to town meeting in March and have it be a town vote, whether or not we accept this or not.
That's in direct violation of what was set up at
Hey,
the last.
Hey,
Jim.
you gotta go to the podium if you're gonna speak.
Jim Lochran from Harpswell Neck. That is in direct violation to the arrangement. The arrangement was that we would vote on it tonight, and if the vote passed, that's the end of the program.
Exactly.
And if the vote continues, then it goes to the town meeting. It's not we do the town meeting arrangement first, and then we can talk
I
about it.
didn't say I was, I just said before the evening was over. I'm gonna let everybody talk.
It will either sink or swim based on the merits, hopefully. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. One of the problems we've had.
Don't be telling me how to run this meeting.
No, I'm not telling you how to run anything, Kevin. I'm telling you that one of the problems we've had, the neighborhood, in dealing with the town on this issue, is that there has been no process. You have not followed the processes, the legal process of doing anything. And now you want to jump ahead of something else. Why don't you just take this one step at a time as it's laid out? There are many places right from the beginning this thing did not follow process. And that is just a real disadvantage to people who have legitimate concerns. Thank you.
Hi, I'm,
Rolling.
sure, I'm Ken Emick with Town Lands Committee. We were the ones that originally got this started. I'm not necessarily at a point to go through the details of our plan. I will answer any questions on it, but I was not at the meeting last month. But I think the goal there was more or less to kill even any further discussion, and I would urge the select board not to do that. Despite what anything happens here or even at future Harpswell meetings, that's going to be public land. It's owned by the state. It was purchased for public access. That won't change. So what is going to be voted on is, ultimately the Harpswell voters should have the say, is whether the town wants to have a management over it. Obviously, there are concerns by the neighbors. I think they can be addressed. And I think if you look at the history of the lands in Harpswell that are owned by the town, the select board, the administration, as well as the Recreation and Town Lands Committee have been quick to address issues, whether it's changing the dog and leash policy or putting up signs as needed. So I think there's an experience within the town to address these issues. And ultimately, that taxpayers are effectively subsidizing this property. It's not on tax rolls, so it's the town as a whole should have a right to say and if there is a management plan or not.
Hi, Patty Lochran, Harpswell Neck. I just want to correct the statement that was just made. The last meeting that we had, the purpose wasn't to kill it. The purpose was to get this committee and this select board to revisit it because we have a new select board member to bring it forward. So that's one thing. Number one. Number two, it's not just the neighbors. You're going to find many people in here who are not neighbors. We submitted a petition back year and a half ago with 150 names on it that were against the development of this. Not just the neighbors. This is from all over Harpswell Neck, and all over Cundy's Harbor, everywhere. So there are many, many people who do not agree with pursuing the development of this land.
Good evening. Ann Wagner, I'm at 22 Moore Shore Road. I'm in a abutter to this property. I've spoken before, but I don't think you've had the chance to hear what I have to say, and I would like that opportunity. I do have a neighbor's statement too, if you allow me to read that. I do want to say that there was a couple comments earlier about Mitchell Field and Cliff, where there were dogs not on leashes that had to be. This was one of the primary concerns of this property, is that there is dogs. It's a field where dogs could run wild. There are, I'm sure you've read all the pamphlets, but there are several rare species of birds that live there, and any kind of habitat will, I believe, severely sacrifice those nesting areas of those birds. This morning I woke up, there's probably 200 geese in the field. Those geese, the minute anybody steps out of our house or anywhere, those geese are gone. And that would be shame. They use this ground as a nesting area for their flight. And I just really believe that I appreciate the three of you listening to what everyone in this room has to say. It's really, really important because I believe a lot of information after the initial vote that was made by the board, there was a lot of information that came out afterwards. And I would have loved to hear if there could have been a vote after all that information had come out. So I do appreciate you guys listening to us. The initial ground survey that was done by the board, there was a field trip that went there. There was the group of people walked down through what would be the path that would be a trail. And what do you know? They didn't turn around and come back up that path. They came down a private residential road. It's private. It's a private road. This is why we're all concerned on this road. There's a lot of people that visit this area now. It's on maps as a state property. People do use it. Why can't we leave it there like that? We, as neighbors, deal with people almost daily coming down a private road to visit this property. And we already deal with that. It's only going to get worse. There's a lot of traffic on the road as it is. It's a narrow road. There's a lot of people walking, dogs, children, people playing. It's to have an additional parking area, additional traffic, additional focus of this land, I think is detrimental to the field in itself, as well as the neighbors and the properties that surround it. So I appreciate you listening to me. And if I can read my neighbor's statement as well. So to the honorable members of the Select Board of Harpswell, we strongly are opposed to the creation of a walking path and parking lot to provide widespread public access to Clark Cove. Although the land surrounding the cove is currently undeveloped, people who live in the area know how to access the cove and do access the cove, both by land and by water. We have lived at 40 Moore Shore Road for over 10 years and have never been aware of anyone being deprived access. The primary argument we have heard as to why few people are pursuing this idea is to provide additional water access. We drive to nearby Mitchell Field almost every morning and walk there with our dog. The beach there is far more usable than Clark Cove. Clark Cove is nearly always empty, and Mitchell Field is nearly always empty, and there is ample parking there. Clearly, any use of taxpayer dollars would be better spent in making improvements to Mitchell Field rather than creating additional infrastructure that will need to be maintained. Perhaps signage on Route 123 directing people to Mitchell Field waterfront would help people who are unaware that the town has been a beneficiary of this beautiful asset. Unlike the beach at Mitchell Field, the Clark Cove beach is not extremely usable for humans. The strip of land is very narrow and unwalkable for at least an hour each day at each side of the high tide. The adjoining meadow is very wet, and the location that has been designated for a path is actually a stream. The watershed for the stream begins west of Allen Point and north of Moore Shore Road. How in the world will the town maintain a path through a stream bed? There would have to be an annual recreation of the path. Does the town want to commit taxpayer dollars to this? Although the state-owned land is not currently frequented by humans, it does provide critical habitat for a wide variety of wildlife, and the state's focus in preserving this land has been conservation, particularly with the population of bobolinks and the need for this space for their nesting and raising their young. There are healthy foxes in the area that rely on ground nesting birds as food source. Herons come to the meadow in the fall for voles and reptiles before migrating. Humans and dogs will no doubt disturb this fragile habitat and the ecosystem that will be affected. Some people live in this area because they were raised here, and it is a home and they love it. Others of us found it and decided we live here because we sought quiet and darkness, but also wanted neighbors not too far away. Most of us who live here do not want further development that will bring more traffic, noise, litter, and everything else that will accompany the proposed infrastructure. This brings us to two very human-centered topics regarding this proposal. First, to have to explain our opposition so frequently is very stressful. Our lives are filled with other matters: work, raising children, taking care of aging parents, fighting illness. From our standpoint, it seems like in addition to coping with everything else in our lives, we have to fight to maintain our own neighborhood. Second, it seems that the idea of someone outside of our neighborhood is trying to make a change that the majority of people that live here do not want. We are a diverse community with a range of interests, but we feel that there is an enormous value in keeping this space wild. Thank you for considering our feelings on this matter. Alice and Steve Carmen, 40 Moore Shore Road. So I appreciate you listening to that. I know it was long. It sums up a lot of what we're feeling, so thank you.
Can I ask a quick question? I certainly understand your concern with Moore Shore Road and the private road and stuff like that. And you say that there's people that are already using the property at this time the way it is. And as of right now, there is really no place for them to park. They could pull over on the side of the road. And so what I believe, and I may be wrong in this, is that they see Moore Shore Road, and we all know what the end of it looks like, and they drive down that to park to access the property. Do you think that if they built a separate parking lot where they're talking, that might take away some of that traffic that you're talking about and redirect it to the other parking lot and off of Moore Shore Road?
No, it's a really good question. I don't believe so, because they will still drive down our road.
Do you think signage would help?
I don't think it will help.
Okay.
And I do want to mention, too, that I did hear what you said about a shorter path. That doesn't help any of the issues that we're raising tonight. A shorter path may be a less taxpayer maintenance issue, but all the other issues that are mentioned in this letter still are at jeopardy. And what's not addressed is the cost. I don't think any of us know what the cost would be, and the maintenance of the field, because there are some documents that say that there would be some maintenance of the field to retain the trail, if I remember right. And to do that, you would need to bring in that field a large mower or some item in which we would need to mow. You cannot do that over the stream. You would have to build something to bring it over that stream, and then or you would have to travel over private property to get large equipment in that area. And that doesn't count emergency, if there's an emergency or anything else from people that are down at the beach. There would be no access that isn't private. So,
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks for listening to me.
Good evening. My name is Steve Nolette. My wife Barbara and I live at 66 Morse Shore Road at the very end of the property and right at the nexus of Clark Cove to our own private property. There only remains about 30 feet between the beach, the high tide line, and the end of our property, which is now an open section. Today, we have signage across the roadway, and it is still visited by those who either don't know better or have been doing so for years. And for the most part, I'm not disturbed by it, but I think attracting additional attention to the cove, and because of the length of the walk and the grade associated with it, people accessing the cove will take advantage of the roadway that is across private property to access the cove. And it is quite concerning because of the narrow stretch of land between the entrance to the beach and the cove at the end of Allen Point. We see this as very concerning, and we see this as a place in which there'll be additional traffic and movement of vehicles across private land, in which we pay and maintain already through our own road association. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Lorenda Melke. I am not a neighbor. I live in Harpswell, but in a different part of Harpswell. And I'd like to address this issue from a financial perspective. We just recently voted for a $6 million fire station in Harpswell. Our taxes went up 4.4% this year, which is higher than the rate of inflation, I might say. Usually for financial forecasting, we would assume 3% going forward. And also, we've heard that the recycling center has some cost overruns, and of course, 99% of government projects do run over, and so we expect that'll happen with the fire station as well. It might not, hopefully not, but from a financial perspective, it seems like the town of Harpswell right now is handling a lot of financial increases. And so just from the perspective of folks who live here, some are on fixed incomes. Obviously, not everyone in Harpswell is wealthy, and we do appreciate the low tax rate compared to the rest of the state. The state of Maine is now number 4 or number 5 of all the states in the country as far as how much tax we pay overall. And we really appreciate living in Harpswell, where at least our property taxes are less than in other places of the state. It seems to me like it would be smart to wait, at least wait, until some of these other projects are finished so that we can see what's the financial impact of these kind of a lot of financially expensive projects that are going on right now in the town. I appreciate you listening. And from a financial perspective, I think it's important to a lot of us. In fact, my neighbors who are not in the area being discussed also told me that they agree.
Nola Denslow, and I live on Allen Point Road. Unlike many of you, I don't have a view of the ocean, and I don't have an access or a way to walk a lovely little beach that long ago children who now are my friends said they walked that beach. It was called Sea Glass Beach, and they loved it. I went down there once, and I did the thing that you're talking about. Only way I knew to get onto it was to drive down your road. I haven't done it since. But when I went, yeah, thank you, surely, thanks. But when I went down, I discovered that that beach was the most lovely little thing that I could imagine. It was quiet, and a few people, and it wouldn't have mattered at all. There were a few waterfowl. It was just a lovely place, and some people like me like to have a quiet place to go. Now, had it been simple and the wonderful work of the Land Committee, which I really applaud and am grateful for, had you allowed it to go through, no, you wouldn't have had the exclusive use of a people's land. You wouldn't have had that. But we all would have been able to go there. There would have been a parking lot. I'm too old to walk all the way back. I'm up at the southern end, and it's high up there, and to walk from way down, and I'm old. I couldn't have done that. But with a parking lot halfway down, I could have done that. I even could have gone and sat in my car and watched the moon come over the water. I'm not able to do that, and I was prevented from doing that last year, which I hoped I wasn't going to be prevented from, because it was supposed to go through town meeting. And it didn't, and I was very disappointed in that, and I thought, it's not going to happen. But I didn't. I was here, and I listened to all of your concerns and the 150 people who, because, excuse me, but because greed is not a good political stand, therefore, you changed it to the environment. Many of you built a house. You built a house just recently. You wiped out a lot of birds when you set in your big septic systems, your big house, your well. All of that disrupted the birds. But, you know, the birds came back and did their thing as well as they could. But you didn't worry about that when you built. But you're worrying about it when you keep some old woman from walking down, and there's many like me, from walking down and enjoying that land. I was quiet last time because I was shocked. And I almost felt like, do I really want to say I live on Allen Point Road? Is that the kind of people we have on Allen Point Road? Somebody that has all the privileges of everything, they deny the people who don't. And I'm here to say that my understanding also was that it wasn't going to be a lot of money. The state would help pay for some of that. And it seems like a small parking lot of 5 cars is not going to be something out of this world. A monitor who goes down, I don't know how those are paid, but I'd even contribute to something like that. But please don't take away from everybody else what you've had for so long for yourselves.
Hi, my name is Tracy Johnson Colby, and I live on Merriman Cove, 1 cove over. I look over the water. I don't own waterfront property, but I do have a nice view. We have a very modest home. We've lived there for 34 years. We didn't disturb any birds because it was a field already. I am against this project on so many levels. You know, I could bring up some graphs and statistics and papers and stand here for an hour and talk about why I'm against it. But I'm tired. I'm tired of fighting because I put up those vote yes on 1 signs, and I saw them desecrated in my town of Harpswell, and I've seen 4 other of my signs stolen for this vote, and I'm quite frankly disgusted with my town. What I am really upset about is the fact that we are over budget on all these huge projects that we voted in, not me, but everyone else who voted them in. And we can't afford it. It's my understanding that the state is now not going to take any fiscal responsibility for development of this park, this land. So it would be 100% responsibility for Harpswell. And we just don't need it. We don't need another bill. We don't need more traffic on Allen Point Road. I have to jump off that road almost daily when I'm walking my dog. I don't know the numbers. The traffic is increased more than double. It's probably quadrupled. Now, to the lady who would like to walk there, where is she? Right here. So I don't have property on Morris Shore Road, but because I know people on Morris Shore Road, I've asked permission if I can go down there and walk. I can also access walking through the shore, but I've been granted permission to go down there and walk. And if you have a relationship with someone, you want to go down there, I don't think anyone in this town would deny you access to that area. We don't need more parking. I believe that if you build a parking area at the top of Allen Point Road and people see what kind of walk it is to get to that shore, not to mention the tick population that's in there, it's unbelievable, and all the brush in the fields. They're just going to see more shore. And they're going to go, oh, that's a much easier way to get down there. Oh, it says private. Yeah, but look at all the houses. And Morris Shore is going to end up having a lot more traffic because you've brought more people here. People are people, and they're just going to expand into space. And we don't want that. We don't want more people on this area. And it doesn't matter where it is in Harpswell. It could be 10 miles away from me. I do not want more development of land in Harpswell. We do not need more walking trails. We don't need more access to the water. There's lots going on in Harpswell. We have plenty. So that's my opinion. There was something else I was going to say. I get a little off. Oh, I know. I would like to ask the select board if you would vote tonight to squash this project. I do not want to see this project brought to town meeting. I do not want to see that. This town has had more division and more votes that divide everyone in this town. LNP, remember that? Remember when everyone divided over that? This could get that hot, and I really would just to squash it. The state doesn't want a development. Most of these people here don't want a development. All the people on the petition don't want a development, and yet you keep developing it. You keep thinking about it and wanting it to go forward. You have the power tonight to vote as a select board to just say, no, it's done, it's over. No more studies. We've got the studies. We've got what we need. We've heard everybody's voice. We have the petition. Stop it, please. Please, I beg you to just stop it. Thank you.
Good evening, Katie Neal, Rec Director, but also Harpswell Neck resident, frequent walker of Allen Point Road. I would agree that the traffic on Allen Point Road is obscene, especially in the summer months. I get run off the road all the time when I'm walking the dog. I walk year-round, so it's much nicer this time of year, especially a day like today. I would just argue that you haven't actually heard from everyone in the town, because we are at soccer practice or eating dinner or doing other things with our kids and can't come to a select board meeting. Thank you so much for coming, Sammy. Nice to see you. It's hard to get out, and town meeting is an opportunity where everyone can be together and gather. That is the intent of the town meeting. I'm also under the impression the select board is asking to seek out additional spaces for water and public access to the water. And that is guiding the lands committee. And so if that is not an objective of this select board, then we should change that so we are no longer working on those things. I appreciate all the water access, public water access in this town, because I cannot afford to live on the water as a family. My husband works with his hands and I work for the town. I have 3 young children. I rely on that public access. If I want to go to the water that I look at when I'm driving down my road, I have to text my neighbor who lives in New York City and ask their permission to cross their property to go to the water. That's not why we live in Harpswell. Thank you.
Hang on a second, Katie. Sorry. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Just because you're our recreation director, do you maybe want to talk because there's been some concerns here about the financial impact this may have, and I was wondering if maybe you could touch on, or I can if you don't want to, some of the wonderful town stewards we have that volunteer their time to maintain our trails.
Yeah, I am not going to lie and say that we won't need a monitor down there. We need monitors in this town already, because people are coming to Harpswell already. It is already a busy place. That is already a budget line item. That's not changing. That's not going away. In fact, the people that are coming to Allen Point Road are coming for their beautiful rental spots that my mom stayed in. Very, very cute. Not because they are parking in the grass to go down there. In terms of the trail, I don't think that anything has been solidified yet with a trail, and that's part of the conversation. Personally, I don't think it makes sense to have the trail go over to the private road, because that just brings more people over to the private road. But all of our trails are maintained by volunteers. That is not a budget item. Yes, there are supplies like bog bridging that come into effect, but we make some of our own bog bridging from trees that we get cut down. So that aspect. The largest cost probably would be the parking lot and then staffing, but that is already something that we have to take into consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's been a lot said about the wildlife and the habitat down there. We have some folks from the state that maybe want to speak to that. Yeah, don't argue.
So our folks here today, we've got Gary Best, Jim Vogel, and myself. I'm Owen Blees. I'm the Director of Real Property Management for the Bureau of Parks and Lands. So we're representing the Bureau and not the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. So, wildlife concerns are largely, it's not our expertise. We're happy to take questions on the wildlife and defer those to inland fisheries and wildlife biologists who are really, that is their cup of tea, and we can get responses on that. But they, at this point now, they did, I think it was Sarah Spencer, another biologist from Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, has been out to the site. They did not identify any obstacles to the recreation that's the development that's proposed. So that's based on the surveys that have been evaluated from Inland Fisheries and Wildlife and shore side wading bird habitat in the fields. It's not a concern of theirs at this point. So.
Can we ask questions of him?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Right. You just want to come up.
Can you clarify how this started? Was it because I've heard that the state of Maine came to the Town Lands Committee, or was it the Town Lands Committee that went to the state of Maine?
I don't know if I would be
Oh,
the very beginning, but my understanding is.
Hope could probably answer.
And please, only if you know for sure.
Well, I don't have the full
Okay.
answer. I was called to be, our deputy director contacted me, do you know anything about this parcel? He didn't even know it was a parks parcel. But my understanding is the town approached the state and asked if we would be interested in doing a management agreement.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is it true that the Town Lands Committee charter is about town lands and not state-owned land? And how come Town Lands is asking and trying to conduct business about state-owned land?
Would you like to speak to that, Hope?
I'm Hope Hilton. I'm a Harpswell resident, and I'm the co-chair of the Town Lands Committee. This property was brought to my attention by a staff member of IFNW who monitors and tracks parcels all in many areas of the state of Maine. And he has visited this particular site on a number of occasions because, as someone who works on this subject at IFNW, he felt it was an appropriate site for public access. He was aware that it's been under the jurisdiction of what we used to call the Department of Conservation, and now we have a litany of names that you work under. I worked with the state of Maine, with DOC, IFNW, LMF, and other state agencies for a long time, including your predecessor whose job you now have. So I'm very familiar with the development of public access sites around the state of Maine. So this IFNW biologist mentioned it to me, that he thought it was a great site, it was appropriate for public development. I went down and looked at it, and then I mentioned it to members of the Town Lands Committee as something we might look at as a possible site to suggest to the Select Board. We then did some analysis in looking at the site. We then sent a memo to Christie saying, here's the site. It seems to fall within the parameters of the kind of thing that the town would be looking at for access to waters. That kind of access is part of the town's written policy. So the Select Board, Christie referred it to the Select Board, who said to the Town Lands Committee, would you please look at this further and give us an outline about the site and a draft proposal for how this might be developed as a low-key, small-scale public access site to Clark Cove. So we did that. Everything was in draft form. We knew that if it went through the state process or any kind of review under what's called a management agreement, and all those agreements they're fairly standard throughout the state. They vary only in terms of what the site looks like and what the anticipated use will be for it. Sometimes the town is asked to manage it locally. Sometimes the state staff do it themselves. In this case, it was looking like a pretty low-profile site with minimal development and minimal kind of expenses, much of which would be covered by various state grant programs that cover water access programs and things of that nature. This was a couple of years ago when we first started doing this. So our Town Lands Committee came up with a draft plan to manage the site, knowing that it would then get further scrutiny and review by the town, by the State of Maine Department of Conservation staff, who would be sending out their own people to look at the site and draw their own conclusions about it. The particular agency, which I call DOC, often goes to other state agencies for their input on that particular site and how they think it would affect them, whether it would affect habitat and all these other issues. IF&W did go out and review the site, and they prepared a short form that they sent to the select board, or I guess to Christie. So that's how this whole project started. It was not, the Town Lands Committee did not approach the state of Maine directly. We understood that that would be something for the select board, having looked at the information that we had collected, that the select board would decide whether to ask its staff to contact the state of Maine and the agency that owned or was in charge of this site to begin to explore the whole subject of whether this would be a public access site. I think having seen some of the paperwork and lived through the subject in the last couple of years, I think some of the confusion arises because these things are handled by the select board and by state staff at various times, depending upon what their other schedules are like, what staff they have available. I know that the state of Maine and the Department of Conservation are short-staffed. They are covering a lot of different properties around the state of Maine. I don't think that the delay in some of their proceedings are an intentional avoidance of this site. I think they're just overworked, and they get to projects when they can and address them. I hope that clears up some of the confusion about the rumors or the thoughts about what's going on with this, and I think it has more to do with just most of us who deal with this are doing so as volunteers, part-time. We have other issues on our plates too, but this was intended, this was our committee, Town Lands Committee, looked at this as a site that had great potential for access by town members. The fact that the underlying fee of this land would be owned by the state of Maine in perpetuity does not mean that the state cannot enter into agreements with state agencies to take over some of the management responsibilities for those sites. Do you have any questions?
I think it covers it.
Thank you.
Patty, do you have a follow-up to that?
I guess my only comment is, and I think it was Christy? Katie, excuse me. Katie that asked, you know, if the select board, your charge is for you to find more lands within the town of Harpswell to expand access. There's currently over 15 trails. It's 16% of our total town lands are trails. So again, we've got plenty of access here. And the allocation of additional resources, both having to find more people to maintain those and the cost to our taxpayers to be able to do that. While I understand the cost of the parking lot, if you're building a trail and you're building bridges to access that area, even the Penobscot Trail Foundation indicated they needed $100,000 more in funding to continue to maintain trails. That was a report that was done in the fall of last year. The erosion and what is happening because of our climate and because of these storms, there's just going to be more and more that we're going to have to invest to maintain more trails that we don't need and that we have a lot of. That's.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Samantha Bohan, for anyone who doesn't know me. I live on the Allen Point Road, and at first I was kind of just like, well, whatever, if they do it, they do it. And then about a month ago, my neighbors had a yard sale, and I was walking, and I didn't know they were having a yard sale, and there was so much traffic on my road. And I had 3 kids with me, and I'm screaming at them to get off the road, and I realized very quickly it was a yard sale, and I then thought about this whole development that could happen, and I was totally against it. I have a deaf and hard of hearing child, and we have signs up at our house, and nobody knows they're there, so signs don't work. They probably go faster now that they see the sign. So, yeah, I guess I'm very scared for this to happen. I live on a point where everybody picks up speed one way or the other. And so I gotta not agree with this at all. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
My name is Sharon Emig. I live on Great Island, and I just wanted to say that I'm a volunteer for the town and the rec committee and town lands and the land trust, and I know firsthand how very minimal the monetary outlay is for maintaining and building even the short trail that we're talking about. There is so much that volunteers do for this town, and it's really remarkable. And so I commend anybody who volunteers on a town committee. But I also just want to put something into perspective. I see this whole endeavor as an opportunity that we all have been given. The state owns the land, and they're engaging us with the opportunity to have a say in how that is handled. I'm not going to use the word developed because I think that has really an overstatement of what we're talking about. I've read the packet. We're talking about a couple of parking spaces and a very, very minimal small trail. And I would like to point out, as someone who doesn't live on the water, and I use all of our trails, and there is a hunger all over town for just places to walk, especially quiet places to walk, like a former speaker mentioned. And to say that, oh, you can just go down to Mitchell Field, really it's a different environment. And the bigger point here is that this is state-owned land that every resident of Harpswell should have the opportunity to enjoy and should have the opportunity to have a say in what happens to it. And it's very unfortunate that I think a small group of people are trying to deprive the rest of the town of an opportunity to weigh in. And this is a town-wide, it should be, I believe, a town-wide vote because it has a town-wide impact. And to take it off the table is exactly the wrong thing to do, especially at this moment for our country. We all need to be respectful of each other and have the opportunity to have a say. Thank you.
Brian Martin. I live on the Allen Point Road. I'm an abutter. I don't even know where to start. There's so many things running through my head. First off, anybody that hikes down through there are going to be gravely disappointed when they see the beach that they get onto. It's not even walkable. I didn't realize we were such bad people either. I think the problem is that it went all in, the signs, the garbage cans, the parking lot, all of the stuff that goes with it. Unfortunately, we're a very easily, we have a stone wall, I should say. It's got a path through it. Once you go through that stone wall, it's a nice little field to walk down, down to the beach. And that's where they're going to be going. And we're going to be spending all summer saying you can't walk there unless the town's willing to put in a nice big fence for us. I think that as it is now, that's all solid land there year-round. If that was mowed, you don't need $1,000, $10,000, whatever parking lot. If just that grass was mowed for room for 4 or 5 cars, mow a path down to the woods, put a bridge across the little stream, and let it be a true adventure out into the woods, not a groomed trail. When you get to the shore, we've got serious erosion problems there. The last 2 storms that we had in '24, we lost 8 feet of shoreline. It just went out and collapsed down. You can measure it, see how much we lost. You cannot be messing around. Kids running in under that, those things are hanging out over. One of those collapses and buries the kid, somebody's going to be very concerned about it. And I don't know. I don't think it's the pie in the sky that everybody thinks it is. I've been there for years. My great-grandfather built the house I'm in. My great-great-grandfather owned the land that we're talking about. So I know what's involved with the neighborhood. Any questions? You look like you had one.
I always look like I have one. No, I'm good, Brian. I understand what you're saying, and what you depicted about mowing a section there for cars to park and a wilderness trail of sorts going down through there. It's a great idea.
That's exactly, and we got a state sign there now. It's some gentleman from the state came down and drove the post and immediately leaned down. But anyway, I don't want to put that on anybody. And just make it simple like that. Don't go all in like that. The thought of me is not in my backyard; it's in my front yard. I don't want to look out my window and see that sign.
No.
All sticking up here this high. I just don't think we need it. And as it is now, it's available for anybody to use. Make a place for them to park, winter or summer. It doesn't matter.
Can I ask the state a question?
What's that?
Can I ask the state people a question?
Sure, yeah.
I don't know which one of you guys can answer it. Let's just say, for hypothetical reasons, Harpswell has no interest in that. We retain, you guys retain ownership of it. Does the state have any plans to, I'll just use the word that's been thrown out all evening, develop it for trails or anything like that? Or if Harpswell does have no interest in it, does the state have any future plans itself?
Sure, happy to.
Oh, you want to climb up there?
Go ahead.
So Gary Best, I'm the supervisor of the southern region of state parks, so the southern half of the state. All of the state parks and historic sites, and we have many developed parks like, Reed and Popham and Sebago, and then we have a whole bunch of undeveloped parcels like Clark's Cove. So that property was purchased with Land, Water, and Conservation Fund money, a federal program, which is designed to not only address wildlife, but also to provide recreational resources for the public. The sign that was erected recently, we are obligated on all properties that do receive funding from Land, Water, and Conservation Fund to mark those properties so that people know this is public land. So that's why that sign was put up. As far as our current focus, we do not, at this time, plan on making improvements to that property on our own. That could very easily change in the future, but right now we don't see that that's going to happen in the near future. There's a number of these types of properties, these smaller undeveloped properties that we have partnered with towns or land trusts to put cooperative agreements in place so that there can be local stewardship of that parcel. And the agreements are all unique, and there's some where it's all on the town for the stewardship. Sometimes there's a little bit on the state. We certainly are always eager to, especially if there is town support, we would love it if the town, if the town wants to do this, we're all in to help. If the town doesn't want to, then that's okay too. We understand that. But there certainly is examples and mechanisms if the town does want to take a role in the stewardship that we would be very open to. And there's a number of different grants that we're very familiar with to make improvements to recreational properties and help with trails and that sort of thing. So I know it's a long-winded answer to your question.
That's perfect.
But really, if the town doesn't want to get involved with this, there's probably not going to be too many improvements to that property at this time. But again, in the future, that could change.
One last, your response garnered another question. Those agreements that you spoke about with other towns and land trusts, for the most part, how have those worked out? I would assume good, since you continue making them. But not everything is always great. Are there any instances where those haven't worked out?
Sure, I'll give you an example.
Yeah, perfect.
And it's kind of a similar property. So up in Damascotta, there's the Whaleback Shell Midden Historic Site. And it's got big field area that goes down to the Damascotta River. There's some trails that go through there. It has really good bobolink habitat like the Clark Cove field does. So we work with the biologists, like Owen was talking about. We have a wildlife biologist that's assigned to us to help us take care of the wildlife. And so we had a mowing plan where there was a section of the field that was mowed, 1 year, and then, another section that was mowed a few years later, and that allowed for the bobolink habitat to continue to be robust and maintain their nesting requirements. So the organization is great. So it was an honest mistake. But so they went in and cut the field earlier in the season than it was prescribed. They cut the entire field, and just our luck, the following few days later, there was this big Audubon group that was coming to do a walk there. And so they, were disappointed and upset, and, we certainly heard about it. So, have there been issues? Sure. We've straightened that out. It was an honest mistake on their part. But in general, the agreements have worked really well. When we get into the agreement, we have scheduled meetings with them. There's at least one annually that we get together with the representatives of the town or the land trust, walk the property. They, bring up things that they want to do next year or issues that they've had. We work through it with them to try to achieve all of the goals. And so generally, it's worked out well. And, our department and our bureau, we do have just, a lot of responsibilities. They seem to grow. Our staff seems to shrink. So when we can partner with towns and land trusts and other organizations, especially on these smaller parcels that we are not actively managing, we embrace that. So if the town is open to it, we are. If the town is not, we understand that, and we'll continue doing what we are right now, which is very little on that property. But again, that could change in the future.
One brief question. So this would be, under the town's plan, would be a state park, right?
It is a state park now.
Right, but I mean, it would be advertised as a place of access and differently than it is now.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't, we have 48 state parks and historic sites that we actively promote, and these are the big ones, the Pophams and the Reeds and the Sebagos. We have lots of land that's designated state park, like Clark's Cove. That doesn't mean we're going to put this, if this was to happen, it doesn't mean we're going to be, listing this on our website as, everybody go to Clark's Cove. We would work with the town You know, this is a beautiful little piece of land, but it's, you know, many of our, you know, state parks that we actively manage and have, you know, staff and, you know, and I don't want to belittle Clark's Cove because it is a beautiful little parcel, but, you know, it's different than going to Grafton Notch or Tumbledown Mountain or, you know, Lily Bay on Moosehead. You know, it's, again, it's more of, you know, I look at these parcels as more of kind of local interest. And so, you know, if the town was to go into the cooperative agreement, we would work with you on promotion. And again, it doesn't mean we're going to be listing it in all of our brochures and direct, you know, driving people down here. We would work with the town as to how you would like to see that done. And
So if we didn't want it promoted type of thing, we just kind of wanted it, you'd be fine with that as well?
we could list it just like we do now.
Yeah,
And
and just
we
leave it
don't
the way
list
it
it,
is.
really.
Yeah,
You know, I
exactly,
mean, it's,
yeah.
if you dig deep, you can
Yeah.
see all of the properties
Right.
that the state owns, and there's many properties that are designated state parks that are undeveloped. And certainly, you know, if you do put a parking lot in and a trail, I mean, there's going to be more, you know, people are going to enjoy
Right.
it and go down there, but.
But that doesn't mean that you guys will necessarily put it on your state park brochure and advertise for it more, that you would work with the town.
We would work
on
with the
that.
town.
Yep.
We actually, Driftwood, Giant Staircase, we don't advertise that on town, in
Yeah.
the town pamphlets. We took it off several years ago.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That was
thanks.
literally what I asked.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I guess what we find out is that the state really doesn't have plans to do anything with it if we let it just leave it alone. At least not now. Things could change. Life can change. It always does. This is a state project. This serves the state's interests, not Harpswell's. And yet we're supposed to pay for it. And to say that, oh, the volunteers will do everything is just not reasonable. You're going to need materials. You're going to need a lot of things as well. In that report from the Penobscot Trail Association, they mentioned specifically that when you have storms and erosions, you know, what happens is you've got let's say a 10-foot bridge over a stream, over a foot stream, similar to what's being proposed here. And those banks of the stream get washed out. Well, when you replace it, you've got to replace that 10-foot bridge with a 25-foot bridge because you now have a bigger span you've got to cover. And that's more money. And God knows the feds don't like the state of Maine. They're not going to be throwing any grant money our way. So let's, you know, disabuse ourselves of that notion. What might have been true 2 or 3 years ago when the Lands Committee was first looking at it in terms of funding possibilities is definitely no longer true. So the burden, the financial burden, is going to be right here. The other thing is, we keep hearing the word access. Everyone in this room has total free access to that property anytime they want it. Right? Yeah, so that's what your sign says. This is public land. Anyone can walk in there. You say you can't get in there. Well, you sure in hell can get in there. Just walk down the trail. It's right there. I mean, to say that it has a fence around it and people are forbidden from entering is just not true. You have access to it. Stop at my house. I'll show you where the trail is if you can't find it yourself. But, I mean, don't say that there's no access and that this is going to provide access. And then people say, well, water access. Okay, well, water access. You can't do any clamming down there. There's not going to be any wharf or dock for commercial fishermen down there. I hope you're not going to be putting picnic tables up, et cetera, et cetera. So water access for what? To see it a little closer than you see it from the road? We also have to consider, you mentioned earlier, Christy, that comprehensive plan is available for whatever, the next step, right? The comprehensive plan also says very specifically that we should maintain scenic views. It also says very specifically that we should maintain rural character. My position is if you're putting a parking lot and a kiosk and a trash can right there, you're not maintaining a scenic view. You're eroding a scenic view. You're interrupting a scenic view. And I think that there's still a lot unresolved as far as the wildlife situation goes. We, through Christie's assistance, requested that the state look at specific wildlife concerns. Well, the first time she made that request, they went and looked at one of our concerns, which was the ground nesting birds, the bobolinks, et cetera. And the state agreed with us. Yes, that is a critical habitat for ground nesting birds. Okay, fine. How about the rest of what we asked for? Okay, well, then they came back and said, well, yes, the shoreline is a critical habitat for wading and shorebirds. Okay, fine. How about the fact that there's a wetland in the middle? The response was, well, we don't have it on any maps, so it doesn't exist. They're unwilling to send someone down there to stand up to his or her knees in the muck and say, yes, this is a wetland. They don't want to talk about a wetland because wetlands obviously have extra protections. And below that, who was it? Ann talked about a big flock of geese down there. That's a staging and feeding area for migratory birds. It's part of what's called the Great Eastern Flyway. And those geese happen to be federally protected. And a lot of these protections also say that no work shall be done that's going to interfere with them or that's going to degrade their environment. So we're just not really paying attention. Harpswell signed a letter or received a letter from the Department of the Interior, Fish and Wildlife Service in 2021. And it came about as a result of the mooring trial, eelgrass trials, which says, under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, construction activities in grassland, wetland, stream, woodland, and other habitats that would result in the take of migratory birds, eggs, young, or active nests should be avoided. Further, it says, this is from the Maine Department of Environmental Protection, an activity that would degrade the significant wildlife habitat, disturb the subject wildlife, or affect the continued use of the significant habitat by the subject wildlife, either during or as a result of the activity, will be considered to have an unreasonable impact. Further, dredging, bulldozing, removing, or displacing soil, sand, or vegetation, or other materials, draining or otherwise filling any construction, repair, or alteration in or on over significant wildlife habitat or adjacent to a significant wildlife habitat is forbidden. Even if the activity has no practical alternative and the applicant has minimized the proposed alterations as much as possible, the application will be denied if the activity will have an unreasonable impact on protected natural resources, or the subject wildlife. Then we have the whole element of the coastal dunes situation. Sand and gravel deposits, including but not limited to beach berms, frontal dunes, dune ridges, and other sand and gravel areas. Brian discussed how that's all eroding back at the bottom of this property. And it says that a project may not unreasonably harm significant wildlife habitats within the coastal sand dune system. But Section C is much more protective, saying a project may not be permitted if, within 100 years, the property may reasonably be expected to be eroded as a result of changes in the shoreline. We have a resiliency committee in this town, correct? Are they excited about that? No matter how gentle the approach is, just making a nice little trail, clearing some land for a parking lot, you're opening it up to erosion. And no matter what you do, you're going to be introducing far more people into that critical habitat than see it now. So yes, it's open to anyone in Harpswell, and there's a handful of people who go down on a regular or semi-regular basis. But with a parking lot and signage, it's going to change things completely. You want to complain, people say, oh, well, it's all NIMBY response, which I think is a really slow way to look at it, all right? Because it's a pejorative label. It implies that you're not thinking clearly. You're a NIMBY. You can't think clearly. I'm more intelligent than you are. What a NIMBY really is the person who has to deal with the mess left made by your decisions. Let's talk about giant stairs. This is a letter from Deb Hall Sandler that I believe was to this board. As a butters, we find ourselves having to repeatedly tell tourists that this is private property. We've had to make countless signs to protect our privacy. We find toilet paper along our paths. We've been ticketed for parking in our own driveway. We hear constant conversation as people pass by, and drones buzz above us in the sky as we work in our yards. Now, I'm not interested in a bunch of trash and a bunch of toilet paper, in a bunch of dogs running loose through the fields, in a bunch of noise, and in a bunch of traffic. She lives on a very dangerous corner. It's dangerous anyway, regardless of signs and children. And as she has told me, every time she comes around that corner, she's scared because people zip around that corner and they just don't know what they're doing. Now, you suddenly start putting in a lot of people out of town. You're not doing anyone any favor. You say, well, we want to maintain places to walk. Well, walk on Allen Point Road. It's beautiful. You got all kinds of views. Everyone else does. So don't worry about a trail. Walk on the street for once. Walk on the road. You'll meet everyone else who's out there walking. And I'm telling you, there are dozens of people out there walking. So that's the way you handle your walking situation. If you want access to the property, go walk down and have access. There's nothing preventing you. And then the last thing I'll finish with is that the proposed agreement that the state proffered is, I'm not an attorney, so I'm not even sure if it's legal, but it seems to have, it seems to be very out of bounds. Town will do this, town will do this, town will do this, and all the things that the town will do, they will do according to the state's direction. Town will be responsible for this, town will be responsible for that, and then go to what the state's responsible for. Nothing, nothing. Every single entry, every paragraph, every section in there that concerns the state says the state will endeavor to. Endeavor has no legal meaning whatsoever. The state will endeavor to. That means they'll try. If they do it, they do it. If they don't, they don't. But they're not being held accountable at all. The only one being held accountable is the town to make sure that property gets maintained every year, to make sure the trash barrels get emptied, to make sure the dog poop gets cleaned up, to make sure the beer cans get picked up. I mean, you're making a mess of a neighborhood. You know, where the trails in town have been most successful is where they're kind of isolated. Look at Devil's Back or Widgeon Cove or places like that. You just zip in, you're not bothering anyone. But whenever we've put things down in the middle of a residential area, whether it's Giant Stairs or Stower's Cove, you put it in the middle of a residential area, you bring in a lot of outside cars, people who don't have respect for the land because they don't live here, you are just fouling it. You're fouling the land. You're going to foul the neighborhood, and then you're going to really damage the habitat eventually. It may not happen immediately, But if people keep walking through critical bird habitat, the birds are going to stop coming back. Anyway, please consider this. It may, from 50,000 feet, seem like a nice idea, but again, water access, there's nothing to do. There's no sandy beach to lay on. You know, it's just, you can go down there. If you really want to go ahead. Knock yourself out. No one's saying you have to stay on trails right now. No one's saying you have to be out after dark or before dark or whatever the particular situation is. So take advantage of it and use it and enjoy it. But please, let's not get overboard and develop it and have signs and noise and, you know, it's not why any of us live in this town, so that we can be subjected to that next to us. Thank you.
I'm Dave Chipman, a member of the board, but I'm going to stand here tonight and speak as a member of the public. I happen to know this site extremely well. I grew up there. I walked on this so-called beach many times. It's not Popham, it's not Reed State Park by any stretch of the imagination. It's a rocky shore, and I appreciate what Nola said. I appreciate very much, because it is a contemporary place. It's where contemplative is the word I was looking for. It's a place that's quiet, and you can walk there and be away from the crowd. I think what all the neighbors are asking for, and the 143 people that signed that letter, January of '24, is to walk quietly and gently on this place. Don't open it up to focusing traffic down into the Allen Point Road and more use of this site. It's open and available for anyone to access, but wholesale access to it is just the wrong, I think, the wrong approach. And I speak for many people when I stand up here, the 143 people in that letter that we've pretty much ignored. When I do speak, I have a bias because I'm speaking for them. But just, this is the kind of place we need to walk gently and quietly and let it be for the most part. But now we've brought so much attention to it, I'm afraid of what's going to happen.
Hang on, Dave. I got a question for you. Yeah. You've been on this board for far longer than me, and you've seen a lot more stuff. In my mind, if we maintain some type of control with a management agreement with the state, we have some type of stay. As we had Mr. Best speak earlier, as of right now, the state has no plans to develop it, but we have a governor change coming up here very shortly, and that new governor may have new priorities, and she may tell the Bureau of Parks and that they want to expand stuff, and then we have no say. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't you rather we have some sort of say than no say at all?
Well, I've thought about that. As the meeting's gone on, I've thought of that exactly. Leave the door wide open for the state to do whatever they want, or that we have some kind of control over it. So going forward, I'm going to be very careful and listen very carefully to this whole thing, and hopefully we'll be allowed to have some input into it.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Laura Grady. I live on the Neils Point Road, and I have a lot of history down the Allen Point Road. I've got a lot of friends down there. I walk down there. I'm one of the walkers. I see it as, if you want to go there, you can just go there. Like, there's not, the access point to me is kind of a silly point, because everybody knows that it's state land. Everybody knows you can just walk down there. I don't think we need any more water access. I mean, for goodness sakes, there's water everywhere. I mean, I walk with my kids on the trails, and I've actually been down to that beach too, because I've been down to a couple of little events down there, and it's not a nice beach. I'm sorry to say that. I just, like, and if you want to go down there, you can go down there. I don't see it as a necessary thing that we need to do. The other thing I want to say is that the neighborhood is extremely lucky to be having this kind of conversation, because on my road, we have had no conversation like this, and we have had just an amazing amount of development on our road. We have there's no recourse. So I hear like what people are saying about noise, and for goodness sakes, noise is a big thing. We've had on my road 6 or 7 years of construction noises. You know, the beeping, the gravel, the boulders. And I totally understand what these people are saying about noise on your road. I mean, it's a huge lifestyle change. And I don't mean to sound like NIMBY about it, because what I'm just noticing here is how lucky you guys are to even have this conversation, because in a lot of Harpswell, we don't have this conversation. It's gentrification. It's old Harpswell is going away. It's wicked sad. I mean, we've lived there for 15 years, and it's sad. You know, you go down the Allen Point Road, and it's lovely. It's old Harpswell. You see people that you know. It's working class people. It's not gentrified. I mean, there's like fancy houses here and there, but it's not like what's happening in other parts of Harpswell that we all have to watch and see, and there's no say. And we have say here, and I think that's pretty amazing. And I just think how lucky you guys are, because we haven't had that. Like, we just hear it and see it all day, every day. I believe I knew the man who bought that land, Dick Parks. Didn't he buy that land?
What's that?
Or didn't Dick Parks buy that land for the state? I believe he did, in 1972.
That was a grant, a federal grant, I believe, right, for conservation, to buy conservation land.
Okay, because Dick Parks was all over the state buying land for the state at that time, and he was on the Niels Point Road, and we used to talk about that land.
Yep.
He used to go down and get seaweed down there, and he heavily advised me to go down there whenever I wanted to, because he knew it was state land, and I knew it was state land. I could ask anybody to go down there, and they certainly would allow me to go down there. Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, I understand the idea of also the conservation for birds. I mean, I'm a huge advocate for birding. We, at the farm, we don't mow the fields so that the bobolinks can remain, which people think we're crazy as farmers. They're like, are you serious? You're not going to hay? But I do wait until mid-July so the bobolinks can't. I mean, sometimes we have to mow some areas of it, which is sad, and we'll leave, like we'll observe where the most nests are, and we'll leave that. So there are management practices that you can implement in areas like that. But it's a precious commodity, these open lands that are undeveloped. And whether that means no trail or no parking lot is sort of just, whatever that word is, semantics. But I feel like it is really important we have wild spaces. You know, our fields and farm, we have birders come. We have the Harpswell Heritage Land Trust sometimes come and do birding. I mean, it is really important to have these environments protected, and the less developed, the better, because like I said, there's no need. I don't think there's any more need for extra access. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any questions for me?
Yep.
As a non-abutter?
Your turn, Brownie.
Good evening, I'm Brownie Carson. I don't live in that neighborhood. I live south of here on Firehouse Road, toward the end of, down toward Potts Point. I was introduced to that neighborhood a number of years ago because our rescue chief, a wonderful woman, Gail Hart, owned the old farmhouse that is almost directly across from the state land where the Lockrans live now. And for me, Firehouse Road's pretty quiet, but Allen Point Road and that particular neighborhood has what several people have referred here tonight as old Harpswell character. I'm new to town, 15 years, but it's a wonderful place to go and walk and just take in the view of the water down across the field and the woods and the houses too. Matter of fact, my wife and I went and walked there a little bit this afternoon just to get a feel for the place, because I knew I was going to come and speak tonight. I don't particularly like the term highest and best use of a piece of property, because it often is used by developers who want to get the most money back from the investment in the land. But as I look at the Clark Cove property, I think of at least the best use of it is the use that we're making of it now, which is access for people. As a number of folks have said, you can go there. The signs, I think, are fairly recent, but they speak to that issue. You'd want to put your gaiters on above your boots or have your socks outside your lower pant legs so that the ticks in tick season didn't make a meal or two of you. I've not been right down to the shore, but I've heard a number of people say that that is not a particularly friendly shoreline. You wouldn't want kids down on the bluff, and it's not a beach where you're going to go clamming or do much in the way of recreation. I suppose you might go out with your waders on and do some fishing. And I am one of those people who feels, I walk a lot. Mitchell Field, Ash Point Road, depends on the season and the heat, and Potts Point is a really lovely place to walk. I'm not sure how the people on Hurricane Ridge feel about us walking, although we walk pretty quietly up through the neighborhood on Hurricane Ridge. And Allen Point Road is one of those special places. If you really want distances to walk, and there are a variety of different kinds of terrain, you can go to one of the Harpswell Heritage Land Trust many sites in Harpswell. They've done a magnificent job. And if you want to run your dog on leash some hours, off leash at a lot of other hours, particularly early and late, so long as your dog is well behaved and under control, Mitchell Field is a fabulous place to walk. I feel like Mitchell Field saved many of our lives during COVID, because you could still go and walk and keep a 6 or an 8 or a 10-foot distance and talk to your neighbors and friends. And I know that every time I walk on Allen Point Road, somebody happened again this afternoon, a woman I didn't know, 3 or 4 houses above the property, came out and actually asked my wife and myself, are you scoping out, are you looking at that property because you're going to that meeting tonight? And I said, well, that's part of the reason that we're here. And so I don't know of a demand to develop this property with the parking area, with the trail, and with the management and maintenance obligations that, even though relatively speaking they're pretty modest, the town would need to undertake. I think we need to value and respect wildlife, and with the bobolinks and the other creatures, particularly the flyway birds and others, that this is a valuable place for Harpswell to have as a stopover home for them. The last point I would make, and I almost hesitate to make it, but I was a lawyer once, a long time ago, and I did a lot of work with the Natural Resources Council of Maine, as some of you know. And when I look at this agreement, and we looked at a lot of agreements for environmental compliance and so forth in that work, the operative words in many of the provisions, 6 involving the town, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 involving the state, the term is shall endeavor to monitor the trails, parking area, et cetera, will endeavor to carry out limited routine maintenance, will endeavor to do this, and then the state will endeavor to consult with the town. Ladies and gentlemen, agreements to be binding don't use the word endeavor. They're much clearer about what the responsibilities of the respective parties are, so that the parties to the agreement, in this case the state, the Bureau of Lands and Parks, and the town, know what our obligations are and what the human, volunteer or paid costs are, and what the real financial costs are. So while I strongly prefer to leave Clark's Cove property as it is so that we all may enjoy it, including the critters, if this were to go forward, I would be a very strong critic of the language in it and say that it needs to be much, much clearer so that we know what we're getting into. Be glad to answer any questions if you have them, and I thank you very much for this opportunity to speak.
Thanks. All right.
Jim Cornish, Allen Point Road, 50 years now. To put that into perspective a little bit, see Sheldon Morse back there? He was 6 years old when I moved on the Allen Point Road, and he lived there. Still do. Next thing I knew, his boy Josh comes riding by on his bicycle. He's 6 years old. A couple of weeks ago, I saw Josh down to the store with Henry. He's 6 years old. So I seen 3 generations. I knew his father, I knew his grandfather. I knew your grandfather. That neighborhood's changed in 50 years. And it's good to have one piece of land that didn't. It's good to have one piece of land to measure what we were, what we had, where we are now. It does have its intrinsic value and its beauty just to drive by it, to walk by it, to look at the ocean. And for those of us hardy enough, and those of us young enough to remember when we had a good population of, what shall we call them, naturalists. Remember the days of skinny dipping on that little sandbar down there. And we were hardy enough to brave the pucker brush to get there. Now I do have a different place now, and no, I'm not going to tell you where it is. Just a few of us know about it, and it's okay.
I already have to poke out my mind's eye right now.
Had a boy. So that's what I'm suggesting, that we leave this place alone. As it's been mentioned by Brownie and several of the other people around here, we all have access to it. We walk it. I go there. I pick apples and a few other things. But, you know, let's just leave it be, gently, as David said. The gentle use that it's getting now is all it needs. And I want to thank the volunteers that work on the trail crews, on the rest of the trails in this town, and do a really great job for the miles and miles and miles of trails that we have to walk, and all of the other land that's open and under conservation, the 16%, I think, of the town. That's probably the largest percentage of about any other town in this state. And I think we're sitting pretty. I think we're sitting good. And and that's my recommendation. Just leave it be. Leave it be. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. All right. Anybody else?
So just wanted to clarify a couple
Okay,
points.
good, thanks.
Yeah, so I have heard a lot of concern over budget and funding of the proposed parking area by the town, and just wanted to emphasize that this is an LWCF land and water conservation site. So it was purchased all those years ago by the Land and Water Conservation Fund, for the value of that the property being a significant natural resource site. And so one of the things that comes along with it being a land and water conservation site is that it's eligible in perpetuity for land and water conservation funding. So it would be available for those grant funds should the town endeavor to apply to funds, and the state and the Bureau would be willing to assist in that process as well. So that could certainly be used for improvements to the property if the town were to pursue those. So, and I know Jim had mentioned you know, the status of the federal funding and grant funding for projects like this. And I just wanted to, you know, clarify that actually the LWCF program did receive about 3 times the amount of its typical state allotment. So it's currently at the highest that it's ever been, actually, for the state of Maine right now. So that's would be advantageous for projects that will be happening all throughout the state and the state park system, which do use LWCF. And just wanted to note that, you know, all the comments that we've heard here tonight really show how much, you know, the community cares about this parcel and in your community, which is a really wonderful and special thing that I think we can all appreciate. And, you know, when I think about Clark Cove, you know, that property was seen as being of value for conservation, and also as value for the public to enjoy that parcel. And it sounds like, you know, many of you have memories that are tied to that parcel, going out and enjoying that property and using that property. But, you know, if we think back to the time that it was acquired and all the time that's gone by since, if that property was never protected, there would be houses built on that property today, and nobody would have access, and there would be no protection of that property. So, you know, here we are. We're all very fortunate, I think, to have this chance to, you know, the town being interested in taking this property, or not taking the property, but managing the property for access and for conservation, to, you know, protect the wildlife, and also to put very minimal recreational amenities on the property, a trail to be able to have people from around the world come by to visit. And again, it's not advertised use for people around the world to come by, but right now there really isn't suitable access for people to be able to walk down to the beach. I mean, a few weeks ago we were on the site, and there's grass that's 4 feet high with thistle, and it's not very reasonable to be able to walk down to the water and to be able to enjoy that site for its unique and coastal heritage that it's known for. And so the intent of LWCF, the Land and Water Conservation Fund, is to promote usable recreational access, which it's not currently meeting that intent of the LWCF award. So, you know, we're very much interested in having the town take over the management of that parcel, but just wanted to clarify those points. And then to Brownie, I thank you for your comments on the management agreement there. I'm sure it's a draft management agreement, so that's something that we would all, of course, take into consideration should it proceed. So, thank you.
Thanks.
Just a couple of final quick comments. I like Jim's phrase, it's being used gently. You know, the property is being used gently, and it is. Introducing more people into a habitat that's already under pressure is never going to improve a property. That's not the way it works. That's 2 and 2 is 4, not 3, sorry. So introducing additional people onto that land is not going to do the land any good. It's going to have negative impact. And secondly, despite the lofty goals, I don't think we want people from all over the world coming over here and lining up along Allen Point Road and making people dodge traffic to get their walk-in for the day or to take their kids down to see the neighbors. So if you want this to be a Harpswell thing, but the state's objective is not for it to be a Harpswell thing. The state's objective is to be an open thing for all visitors to the state. So please keep that in mind.
Katie, Harpswell Neck. I still think that there is a scenario in which the town took over management of it and did protect it, didn't put in a 4-car parking lot with a kiosk and a trash can, which we don't have trash cans at our properties. That is a reasonable outcome. No one's saying we have to have a accessible trail down to Clark Cove. That doesn't have to be what it is. There's room for discussion on what it means to manage the property as a town.
Thank you.
I think it's really absurd to be talking about all these people that are going to rush in. We had a horrible statement, I'm sorry to say, that we weren't going to welcome people from a certain city close by, and I shudder when I think of that statement. But a few people will be coming to a 4-lot parking place on a few sunny days in warm weather. Is that going to increase the traffic on the road? Is that going to, no, it's not. The people that increase are people like me. I only have one car, but people who built homes recently, and they come and go, and they're 1 or 2 or 3 car places, and they create traffic on the road. But a few people coming to that little parking lot is not going to make any difference at all on the road. We would never notice the difference. But what it might mean is that some of the people who walk the road wouldn't have to walk a road that does have traffic on it. They could walk down and walk across the trail and walk by the ocean and come up. And wouldn't that be lovely? But it's this whole hype. Oh, it's going to be so bad. People pollute. You know, I called the land trust because I wanted to know, and I said, of all the generous people here who give trails through their land, how many of those people have complained to you that they've been abused with, what is it, diapers and Coke bottles, and I don't know the things they're talking about. And she said, none. Not a single person. People who love nature do not abuse nature. And it's just shocking to me that a group of people, because they want to preserve their land just like it is, could create such havoc that people are even reporting how they feel so nervous. Well, I'm going to get out of the nervous mode. I've been in it for a bit because I feel a kind of resentment. And I got to lose my resentment because that's not any good either. And I apologize if that's come across. But greed really perturbs me. And for me, access to public land, the people's land, should be free and open, and we should not be denied.
All right. So I totally respect what you're saying. I totally do. And I live on Moore Shore Road. You're welcome down anytime. I will come pick you up and take you there. But listen, I grew up with nothing. I grew up with absolutely nothing. And your statements that you got a bunch of people in there about greed is ridiculous. You use the word ridiculous, that's ridiculous. It's insulting to me. I have worked my entire life to afford to buy that piece of property.
We don't need to be attacking each other here. This is a public comment period. Direct your comments at the board, please, not at members of the audience.
Okay, I apologize. I greatly apologize. Those statements I find are very insulting to those of us that live there. And it's an assumption of the people that live there, and it's not correct. I want to make that clear to the board.
All right, I think this is a good point to shut up the conversation. I think we've heard from everybody who wants to be heard from. What I see as my job as a selectman, these propositions, they come to us. And whether I like the idea or I don't like the idea, I need to have it voted on by we're a town meeting form of government. And I think it's important for something of this magnitude that gets voted on by the entire town. The opposition, you have 6 months to make your case, and because it'll be on the warrant, there'll be public meetings, as many as we deem necessary, and make your case. If there's enough of you to make your case, you can kill it at town meeting. So basically, my motion is we move this forward to town meeting vote in March.
No. not a good idea.
It's a motion, I've shut up the conversation. This is up to the select board now.
Well, I'm the select board member that's gonna second that motion. Because we have a future acquisition of land policy that's laid out in our town policy manual. And that's literally what we're following here. And if you'd like, I can read it to you, just to reaffirm that we're literally following what's written out in the town policy manual. Regarding the potential acquisition of land, the town, acting through its Board of Selectmen, may give priority consideration to properties that A, are adjacent to or near existing town properties, B, and this one applies, provide public waterfront access, C, enhance parking for waterfront access, D, are located on the Mountain Road corridor, E, provide acquisition in areas of the town where there may not be publicly accessible land, F, are identified in focus areas in the town's open space, and this happens to be focus area number 11, and enable accommodations that improve or expand access for commercial fishing and/or other waterfront activities. Such accommodations might be parking for vehicles, boat trailers, boat ramps, or other larger vehicles. Note, only the town meeting is authorized to acquire land on behalf of the town. We are literally following the town policy manual and sending this to town meeting to vote on. I am seconding Kevin's motion, and any more discussion?
Well, Matt, I'll just quickly point out.
Jim.
That relates to
Jim.
town lands, not acquiring other lands.
It says regarding the potential acquisition of land. It doesn't say anything about town. No, let's just bring it to vote.
Don't argue with him.
I'm done.
Don't argue.
Gentlemen, in order to maintain the integrity of this board, I recuse.
Thank you.
Good for you, David. All right, all in favor? All right, this is going to be moved to town meeting in March.
All very disappointed in this select board?
Extremely disappointed in this board.
Some are extremely proud of this board.
Good, thank you. Come on.
You can run for election.
There goes my ride. Bye, guys.
See you, Jim.
I'll give you one later if you need one.
Yeah, I'll give you a ride.
I think we're good.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, I got a Charlie horse. Like
I
you
gotta
got
go to
Charlie
the
horse.
bathroom.
Jesus, I almost jumped up. My leg was getting cramped
Oh,
up.
my God.
Boy,
All right.
Where,
we still got a meeting to go through here.
Yes, we do.
yep.
Notice of award for the removal of Mitchell Field Administration Building. Is that what you came here for, Don?
Don, it's your chance, bud.
Should
John,
you-
would you like to go right
Hey,
ahead?
Make it brief, Don.
So we did open Don Miskill, Mitchell Field Chair, Committee Chair, and Steward. Last Friday, we opened 3 bids, and I think we have a bid. I'm assuming that Max had time to make some inquiries.
We're doing
the-
reference checks and they're.
The winning bid was 144,000 and
100.
change.
Yep.
Well within the 230,000 that the town authorized us to do. The really surprising part is they expect to start on 1 December and finish by 31 December.
And that was confirmed that that was correct.
I mean, we're doing follow-up.
Yes.
But we believe so, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Move we go with Lakeside Concrete.
Yeah, I second
I
that.
think, yeah, we're basically saying we should notify them that they would get the award and then we would work on the contract and we would
Correct.
solidify all these.
That seems like a
items.
pretty, how fast they are and how cheap
Yeah,
they are. I'll
yeah.
second that as quick as he motioned it.
Now, I usually ask for a discussion, but Don's here. Any discussion on this before we call?
Please, no.
And the only thing, well, go ahead and have your vote. I do have a comment after you vote.
No.
Get it out there.
It's just, for people out there who might be contemplating things, when we do this, that will shut down the waterfront parking while they're
I would
taking the
think so.
building
December?
down.
Yeah, that'd be
In
all right.
December.
Oh.
So I just wanted the public to know, and we can
cold down
put
there in
things on our website.
Where am I gonna do my polar bear dip?
I know. You can still get to the beach on foot, but our proposal would look something like putting sawhorses at where the concrete pad is so people can turn around. But that would be about as far as they can go while they're tearing the building down. Just an alert for the public.
Sounds like it couldn't be better timing wise, really.
I absolutely couldn't. God loves us in small ways.
Yeah.
Is the pad coming up? I didn't see that in the bid.
No, that contract calls for them to take it down to the slab. And that may be one of the reasons that the Ford contract was 1.42.
Could be, yeah.
They did not come to the site visit, and their proposal, I think, was to take it back to grass,
They
take
probably know
everything out.
about government slabs.
Yep.
Years ago, out on Peaks Island, we were working on a house on one of the old bunkers.
Yep.
And the code office in Portland were pretty hard on the architect. They didn't like him much. So they made him test drill to see how deep the bunker was, 12 feet.
Wow.
They let it go. They
Yeah.
love their concrete.
I think that's going to be a costly removal if we
Yeah.
get to that point.
So, but
Yeah,
this,
there was a few
this
of
gives
these
us the
that had
things that we
great
want.
problems.
Yeah.
If we come down to slab, we get the things we want. We get open space, we can put picnic tables out there, but it also gives us the drive around advantage where the garage is, because it's paved on both sides, so we can have a separate circular traffic pattern for non-boat launch traffic.
Excellent. Thanks, Don. All in favor?
Okay, and of course, a contract would come back to you once we get to that point.
Yep. All right, special town meeting warrant.
So in front of you, and also posted on the website, is the warrant for it's a referendum town meeting. The first article is to elect a moderator for that meeting, but then we have 4 items after that. One is the comp plan, one is to accept gifts and grants and to apply for grants, I should say, for Trufant Somerton Field improvements. Another article is to authorize the board to enter into a multi-year contract to put emergency communications equipment on a tower on Cary Drive, which is in the Cundies Harbor area. And then the other article has to do with authorizing the board to accept an easement from a property owner on 71 Bethel Point Road. This person is interested in giving the town the authority to install and maintain a dry hydrant there. And this is something that's critical to, fire services and operations for the town to be able to have access to water in that area of Harpswell. So we ask the board to sign this. It will be posted, and it is the official warrant of the town of Harpswell. Once you sign it, it will have the comp plan, which you have there as an attachment. The comp plan's available for review on the website. It's also available for review and inspection at the town clerk's office, the planning office, and, yeah, I guess that's it, huh? Yeah.
Planning.
Oh, the local libraries. We don't mention that in the warrant article, but we do have copies at the Orrs Island Library, the Cundies Harbor Library, and Curtis Library in
Did we
Brunswick.
already approve this? And
I think you looked at the draft. Oh, you approved the warrant articles that were given to the town clerk, so the ballots could be
But we need to
printed,
move- we need
but
to
now you
move
have to
forward.
sign this. Yeah, it has to be
Yeah.
posted.
Well, I move we sign it.
I second that we sign it.
All in favor?
Thank you.
All right, recycling center improvement working group appointment. If you don't mind, Dave, I'd already been talking to Chuck. We got ideas.
You
I don't
guys
care.
fight over this one, I'll take that voting delegate fight.
We'll get to that.
So the board talked about this mission statement at a previous board meeting. We have had some people apply to serve on this working group. George Barker, who's a member of the Recycling Committee, Phil Connor, member of the Recycling Committee, Mackin Pulsfer, member of the Budget Advisory Committee, Bob Goudreau, who serves on our Housing Committee but would be representing the general public in this case. We're still open to other applications, but we think the board ought to consider appointing these members and also discussing which member of the board would actually serve.
Kevin and I wrestled for it. He won, so.
Okay. And so you would move the current slate, or you know, and
Do,
this
move.
group could start
I move
meeting.
that slate, and
Okay.
Kevin will serve as the selectman.
I will second it.
All in favor?
Okay.
All right, small community additional grant awards and contractor selection.
So as I laid out, excuse me, as I laid out in the memo, really asking
Bedtime.
I'm sorry?
It's past
said-
my
he said
bedtime.
it's past
Hurry
his
up.
bedtime.
Okay. 2 items requesting the board to take action on this evening. The town, between the grant funds from the State of Maine Small Community Grant Funds left over from replacing a resident's failing septic system, and an additional award, we have about $17,500 in grant funds for the town office septic system replacement project. Between that and the reserve funds, the project was sent out to bid. 4 bids were received, ranging from the lowest bidder of $29,945 to $78,100. And after checking with the state, have received the state's okay and positive references on CCC Construction LLC from Augusta. So number 1 is asking the select board to please authorize contracting. It's the standard subsurface, small community grant contract with CCC Construction. And then part 2 of this is during that, another income qualifying resident is experiencing a failing septic system, and I applied for additional funding, and we were awarded another $22,000 for that project. I will state that at the town's request, the state is allowing flexibility in the total funding, just under $40,000, and hopefully it will work out that we can know both costs and that every single penny will be used. But if this,
Looks like, and then some.
this resident, well, and then some from the town's reserve, but
Yeah, okay.
trying to make sure that the resident septic is replaced fully and wholly. So,
So the-
anyways, there is some flexibility. So asking for you to accept that more recent award of $22,000 and the contract.
So move.
I second.
All in favor? Place items for bid.
So 2 weeks ago or I guess 2 weeks ago, maybe, the select board, we put out to bid ramps, and then that evening Dawn had said, ooh, how about this toolbox that's also in the building at the generator building as they're cleaning out stuff. So we would like to put that toolbox up for bid. And also, we have a door that was going to be our back entry replacement door. I know the estimated value of that of $1,250, and that can be viewed at the town office.
That's a brand-new door, still in the framework.
And it's not going to work for our needs, so we would like to have it placed up for bid. And then the toolbox, Don has generously allowed me to post his phone number for people to gain access at the generator building to view the toolbox. And so actually, I think that may have been,
It is a standard toolbox that would go across the back of a pickup truck, external.
What kind of shape is it in? And the picture doesn't really.
It just needs to be, dusted off. It's been sitting in the generator build,
Not all
so
wet.
it hasn't
the
been.
keys for it?
Or
does it lock, would be a first question. And if it does, do you have the keys for
If
it?
it's locked, can you unlock it?
Yeah, it's just been sitting there. Nobody's claiming ownership. And
Yes.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so should there be a minimum bid for any of these things, or? No?
I don't think there needs to be for the toolbox, but the door would be the only thing where it was brand new. Do you think we should have a minimum on that, because it's new?
Go with 1,000.
1,000.
Okay.
Minimum bid of 1,000. Okay, I move we put these out to bid.
I second.
All in favor?
They get whatever's in the toolbox. I haven't opened it.
Oh, you haven't even opened it.
Oh, it's a grab bag.
Ooh,
It's a grab
All
bag.
right. We have to set a public hearing for general assistance ordinance and
So
maximums.
we would ask that you do that in 2 weeks at your Thursday night meeting. Usually, you're just looking at the annual
Right.
maximum increases. Thank you, Terry. But we actually are proposing a new ordinance. The state law has changed in the general assistance area. We haven't updated our ordinance in a long time for general assistance, so.
So we
it
should
would
take
be-
this home and read it.
Yeah, and I would say the law allows the board to approve certain ordinances without going to town meeting, and this is one of those. General assistance ordinance does not need to be voted on
There
by
you
the
go,
town
Matt.
meeting.
Well, that's all the power in the world there, huh?
Nice bedtime reading.
But,
That's
yeah,
what AI
and
is for,
Katie
David.
Neal has been taking over in the general assistance area and doing a great job. So, this is just something that comes to you annually for maximum updates for how much we can help people with and the limits to that. But this year, we're also going to add updating the ordinance and
Okay.
replacing it with a new one. So how about the 16th at 6:15 for a public hearing?
I so move.
I so second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Okay.
We're cruising now.
All right.
Yeah.
Matt,
Yeah.
MMA Association.
Yep,
and
I'll take it.
Business delegate.
Just, somebody said I can't make a motion or
I just
second my
made a
own
motion.
self.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Do I get to vote even for myself?
Yeah.
Nope, you
Yeah.
can abstain if you'd like.
I recuse myself.
Katie's been waiting, so.
Have you?
Oh, actually, this is under other business.
Oh,
You're
that's
gonna
why
ask for
you've
public
sat here.
Yes, right.
Her kids are starving at home.
So,
So is the
Do
selectman.
you want to ask for any more public comment? I don't think you have it. So this would be other business opening those bids.
oh, okay.
You probably had all your
Vast
public
has
comment.
abandoned
Do
us.
we need a drum roll? I'm
Yeah.
terrible at drums, so don't get me to do it.
So this is for paving at Trufant Somerton, the entryway, and Devil's Back.
Never look back.
Jesus, you qualified
Yeah,
to run that thing?
competitive.
Damn thing.
Mike's not here tonight, so don't cut yourself. We don't have first aid.
We
Perfect, we're
really,
set then.
we really should give him something else to open those with.
What was going on at Devil's Back? I saw cones. Yeah, all kinds of people parked there the other day.
Our hiking challenge
Oh.
is very popular.
That's great.
Oh.
I assume that.
R.A. Weber.
Is that the only one?
Nope, I get another one right here. Truth and Summoner, work to include mobilization, equipment, labor, paving, $6,270. Devil's Back, work to include mobilization, equipment, labor, paving, $4,320.
Yeah, we really should. I know, I'm
I
embarrassed.
usually bring one.
I'm enjoying this, so thank you. I'm not gonna motion to buy a letter opener, so.
I think if we had our inspector come and look at our safety practices, we'd probably get written up.
Oops. All right. Drew from Somerton. Saw, cut, remove pavement, road edge, that's square joint, shape and compact existing surface. Shim gravel is needed. Fine grade for pavement, one time only. 2-inch compacted, 12 by 5 millimeter hot asphalt base coat, $9,075. Devil's Back, roughly the same thing, same description, $7,600.
Who was that?
That was Labby, Ray Labby and Sons, sorry.
Does Weber say, are they looking to, would they do the work this fiscal? And what about?
I don't see as a notice when they were gonna do it.
I've been told that because paving is needed, paving.
They're not there answering.
So other than the price, what's the difference in the, essentially the same job?
Same job.
Same
Yep.
description.
Weber's a total of $10,590.
Mm-hmm.
16,675.
Yep. Yep.
Do you want to award it to the lowest bidder?
Yep, I move we go with RA.
Pending review of the schedule?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I'll second that.
No discussion? All in favor?
What are you doing?
We have one other
over that
addition, and then, Mary Ann, would you could follow me? Sure. So we have a contract with Allstate Construction for Peabody Road, and it's looking really nice. I don't know if you've had a chance to go on it.
Oh, yes.
But there's some discussion about what we should put on for the final surface pavement, so you're gonna discuss that in 2 weeks. There's differences about, how much pavement, should it be 1.5 inch, should it be 1 inch, that kind of thing.
Didn't we
And-
already agree
Well,
on-
no, because they have sections, the intersections are at a higher level of pavement, and the rest of the road is lower, and there's been some discussion about making it all the same. It involves potentially some, price changing, so it's gonna come back to the board.
Okay.
In addition, Allstate said that they need more time to get this final pavement done, regardless of what option you choose. And so I'd ask the board tonight to extend their contract to Friday, October 24th. It currently is to October 15th, but they can't meet that deadline.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Thank you. Okay, Mary Ann, sorry.
I'm sorry you breezed by public comment too quickly.
Oh.
I'm Mary Ann Naif on the Conservation Commission, and I just wanted to make the townspeople aware of a program that we're having on October 18th called Shoring Up Harpswell's Coast, and it's going to be at the Schiller Center, and basically it's part of our Water Rise series, and this event's going to talk about how to handle erosion on the shoreline using both hard and soft methods. We're hoping to have a couple of the landscape designers there to take questions. Jamie Hark will be giving a presentation, bringing out some of the new ways that the town and the state is putting forth for people who have to take care of their shoreline after storms. So it's going to highlight for just a homeowner to how to look at this going forward. So I just wanted to mention to you, it's Saturday, October 18th from 10:30 to 1 at the Schiller Center, and hope to see a few people come.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary Ann. Other business, the folks who own Livewell Farm lost their additional parking, and they want to know if they can use Mitchell Field Saturday night.
It's okay with me.
If you're okay with it, then I'll help work out the details with the owners and.
What are the hours?
I'll find out tomorrow.
Okay, all right. Yeah,
I'm leaning towards it, it's safe to say that.
Yeah,
Oh, just a head nod up between the three of us.
yes.
I'll abstain because they're friends of mine, so.
You have friends?
How much does that cost you?
What, to be their friend?
Friends.
That's the other way around, actually. All right?
Yep.
Yep.
Please. You guys are okay with it?